welcome back to Nick Sphere, and more specifically, the Countdown 2 podcast. I'm joined by Jam, George, and Key. As always, we're going to be talking about football and the Premier League and what's been happening. Again, as we always seem to start with, we're starting with Liverpool losing again, bro. This form, Jamal, and again, I'm going to start with you because that's just your team, your guys. You're losing every week at home. Champions League, you're probably going to go through the Champions League. But the Premier League, you're down to mid-table now. How bad does it get before it gets better than it is?
Who knows? I didn't think it would get this bad, but here we are. I don't know, man. It's I don't know. It's this season, and it's a weird season. Everything strange that can happen is happening, and this no one would have predicted it, but here we are. I don't know. I feel like I've said everything that I can say on it. I don't know. The amount of conversations I've had about this period, it's just weird. People ask me who do I blame, and there's I think there's so many different factors to blame and who to blame. I think it starts from the top. For the last few years, even when we've been good and successful, there's been a big issue with investment and recruitment and not recruitment, but investment's been a big issue. The amount we're spending it, how we're spending it, and why we're spending it. It's a big issue, and it's not sustainable. And we've seen that now. This season, it feels, is the result of 4 or 5 years of bad planning. I look at Bayern Munich, and to me, they're the model club. The way that they sign players, they recruit players, they replace players. Look at Ribéry and Robben coming towards the end of their career. They replaced them seamlessly. You look at our issue at the minute is we've talked about the defence and players missing whatever. That excuse is out the window now because defensively is what it is. But going forward now, there's a massive issue in terms of not just scoring goals. We don't even create chances anymore. We're not even creating chances against not top teams. We're talking like Fulham at home, Brighton at home, Burnley at home. We're talking dog shit teams. We can't create anything. The worst of the worst teams cannot create. It's a big problem. And I think when I look at the front three, they've played essentially for 4 years straight, every game, with midweek Saturday, every game. Eventually, there was going to be a period where they were going to burn out and get to a point where they've given it their all, they can't play no more. We're seeing that now. It's unfortunate that it came when Jota got injured. I think that would have eased it a little bit. But we're seeing a lack of investment on the pitch, throughout the pitch. Centre-back's a big issue. They waited until deadline day when Matip got injured the day before to go out and sign centre-backs. They still didn't want to spend any type of money on a centre-back then. Bad investment has got us into this sort of situation where we're in now. And it's on the pitch. We're seeing it on the pitch. We're seeing the result of that.
Yeah.
But so the owners have a big part, the biggest part to play, in my opinion. Then there's got to be a question of the manager, because not in the sense of sacking him or anything. That's never ever going to cross my mind. But we know the centre-backs are not there. We know that's a big issue. We know they're not there. That's cool. But the way that he's setting up in certain games, he's setting up as if he's still got Van Dijk and Gomez and the pace that they have to play a high line. They're not there anymore. And the last 2 games kind of highlight it in the sense of the Chelsea game. We all know Timo Werner's biggest strength is getting in behind, feeding on space in behind. We did the same thing against Leicester, and we did the same thing yesterday against Fulham.
Do you United boys, do you guys agree with him when it says it comes from the top and the lack of investment? Because you guys had a similar problem not long ago about the lack of investment from the owners and downwards. But yeah, is it as simple as that?
I think so.
I'm with George.
Mainly because just like a few people said it last year. Like some journalists said, like with how good Liverpool are doing, there's going to be a point where they do need to invest, because you looked at the average age of the squad. It was one of probably the oldest in the league, because apart from Trent and maybe Joe Gomez, all the players were at the peak level, like Mane, Firmino, Salah. They're all approaching 30. Thiago, who they signed in the summer, which probably looks like the worst signing of like the year. Like he's past 30. Like Milner, who'd come on past 30. Like there needs to be a point where the owners and the manager says, like, what are you doing signing all these like old players? There's no need for it. And it's the same thing happened at United. We signed Falcao, Schweinsteiger. We even signed Juan Mata, like even past his peak. Like he's been a good servant, but he should have been gone 3 or 4 years ago. There's plenty of examples of it for United. And it looks like the same thing's happening with Liverpool.
Okay, I guess that's fair. With me, where I would probably push back would be, it's 2020 hindsight, especially when it comes to Thiago, because when he came in, there was a massive media storm, all of these different reports saying signing of the season already. Jota's been good. Obviously, they signed him for quite a bit. Not to mention Van Dijk and Alisson, who completely changed the fortunes of the team. To say he's got no investment, I don't know. Maybe because when somebody says no investment, I literally see it as Spurs, Pochettino, literally zero investment. Whereas that's probably a bit unfair, and you can't compare it, considering where Liverpool was. But again, when it comes to we've seen in recent years, Jamal, Man City struggled with defending their title, whilst in Leicester, but Leicester, you can throw Leicester out of it, to be honest. But Man City and Chelsea have struggled in recent years. It's not one of them things where to win a Premier League title, you have to almost reach 100 points just to win. So it's quite natural to suffer burnout the next season, no?
There's always been a drop-off. I think there's only been 3 teams that have ever gone back-to-back. There's always going to be a drop-off. And I didn't expect to definitely win the title, but there's no way, irrespective of the injuries, there's no way we should be sitting in 8th, about to be dropping to 9th. That's unacceptable on all levels. I don't care who's playing. Could have the under-23s out there. Should not be in 9th place, bro, under any reason. And when you mentioned Van Dijk and Alisson being signed, they were only signed off the back of us selling our best player and our most valuable player. Without selling Coutinho, they wouldn't be here. There's no ambition from owners. You see this summer, summer before, we won our first trophy in, I think it was 7 or 8 years. The biggest trophy you can win maybe not for us, because how long we hadn't won the league, but Champions League, the biggest trophy you can win.
Yeah.
That summer, the summer before, we had a really good window. We signed Alisson, Keita, Fabinho, and Shaqiri, and that kicked us on to being able to challenge for a league and win the Champions League. They got lucky last year in the fact that City fell off so badly, because they backed the manager, the best manager they've had under their tenure since they've owned the club, with Adrian, Harvey Elliott and Sepp van den Berg. They spent £5 million the summer they won the Champions League. They were very lucky that they won the league last season. They have no ambition. I 100% see where United fans come from with the whole Glazer out thing. These American owners, Arsenal the same with the Cronkies. They don't give a shit, you know. They do not give a flying fuck. As long as these clubs are making money and they're selling shirts and they're selling whatever, they don't care. They're not interested. Just a cash cow to them. They don't care. They've got their business. They've got their sports teams in America. They're not bothered about these English clubs. They don't care.
With like them owning sports teams in America, they only have to pay wages. Like all they do is train players. Like they don't pay out massive fees on top of wages. So
it's not a big cash loss to them, is it? Like with the Glazers, obviously the NFL team, they've got, obviously it's a highly successful NFL team, isn't it? But United's just like a little side job to them, isn't it? Like they don't really care. It's just the English game. They know that with TV deals and the way the game's going at the moment, they just know they can get a lot of money out of it just to pay their debts or whatever it is. I don't know about the Liverpool situation, but with the Glazers, I'm sure that's how they see it as, isn't it? for you guys, it's like LeBron James is the only person that cares, and he's playing basketball. You know what I mean? He's bad, to be fair, man. It's just American owners, and with them, like they with American owners, I think they're reluctant to invest. So you can win the Champions League and the Premier League in the same season, but who's to say they're going to strengthen a game once you've won all of that? Do you know what I mean? Because in their eyes, they see that as enough. Do you know what I mean? Like under Mourinho, this like the Glazers, they spent a lot of money, and then they give Oli like peanuts. I know they gave him 80 mil for Maguire and whatnot. People say it's bad recruitment, but
Is that his connection? Oh,
yeah, it's there. Okay, cool. Anyway, to go back with the owners, I think you guys might be. I think you might be a bit. You might be being a bit too harsh, because what do you expect? Do you expect to be Manchester City? Are you expected to be Chelsea? You've got to remember, City and Chelsea, they're the exception to the rule. Their owners are billionaires, and them clubs, that's their sole investment, that's their sole purpose. If you look around the world, Real Madrid are not doing that, Bayern Munich are not doing that, Barcelona are not doing that. All of these different teams, they're not just going out shelling money. You've got three clubs in the world, Chelsea, City, and PSG, that can do that because they're backed by states, they're backed by billionaires who obviously love football and stuff like that. And you're looking at these American owners. For example, the United owners, the Glazer family is the perfect example. You've got the, I think he's just died there for a bit, but you've got the United owners, yeah, that own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now. If you truthfully go to them and ask them, what would you rather win? For you as an American person, would you rather win the Premier League, the Champions League with Man United, or win the Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? It's the Super Bowl all the time. So they're not going to...
Why does it have to be one or the other?
Because they haven't got the resources to invest what Man City and what Chelsea are investing. And that's what you guys are demanding.
Well, that's the problem, though.
They haven't got the capital to do that. They just ain't got the money to do that.
I don't buy that at all.
Is that the Tampa Bay weren't successful until this past year, where they've signed Tom Brady. Like, even when Tampa Bay were unsuccessful in the past 7 years since Fergie's retired, we've invested the first season a manager's joined, and then we've failed to back the manager up the next 3 seasons or however long they've been there. Mourinho won those 2 trophies in his first year at the club, or second year, and then he didn't get any money put behind him the following year, when he said, like, if we want to challenge for the league, then we need to invest in our defence, and he just didn't get the funds.
But bro, see, this is where me and you part ways again. You say he didn't invest and didn't get anything. You broke the world record for Paul Pogba. You got Lukaku.
I'm saying following winning trophies.
But yeah, you guys just, it seems, I don't know, it seems like you just want more and more and more.
What's the subject here?
It's the same thing. So it's the Glazers.
Bro, cool.
We're supposed to be the biggest club in the world, and this is no disrespect. This is no disrespect to Tottenham. No disrespect, but you're used to having Daniel Levy, who's used to not spending any money whatsoever.
George,
we're Man United. We need to be spending money to compete in this day and age.
I agree with that. Two different teams, which I just said to Jamal about 5-10 minutes ago. I was looking at it completely wrong. I can't compare Pochettino's situation to what Klopp's going through, etc. I understand that, but regardless of what you guys are saying, it still seems like you guys just want more and more and more. You can't go from 1 year buying Paul Pogba. I can't remember you bought in the same year, but Paul Pogba, Lukaku, and all of these different players who are costing loads of money, agent fees, transfer fees. Like you say, like you just said in the NFL. In NFL, you don't have to pay wages. There's no transfer fees, all of these massive signing bonuses, agent fees. So you're paying that every year. Let's say under Mourinho, you spend about 100, 200 million in a summer transfer window. And then you can't turn around the next season and just do it again. They haven't got that capital. I don't think they've got that money. Only Abramovich and the City owners have got that money. And you even seen the last couple of seasons, the City owners have kind of withdrawn back, apart from this summer just gone, in terms of heavily spending, because it's just unfeasible. There's no endless pot of money that these guys can just go to.
Yeah, well,
Go
on, Al.
No, go on.
So whilst I agree with what you're saying, Nick, is that is the problem that I have, is that which is why we want the Glazers out. Before they took over the club and put us in debt as well, we were able to spend money more freely. Obviously, the transfer fees weren't at the level they are now, but the Glazers take money out of our club from the revenue to put in their own back pockets. So this is another problem with the Glazers. What
business owner doesn't do that? That doesn't make sense to me. What business owner doesn't do that?
Yeah, but Nick, you got to remember what George is trying to like get across is when they bought the club worth 600 million or whatever it was, they didn't have that sort of money to buy the club with. So they bought the club with 600 million, which is not their money. And now they're paying back that debt and all sorts, but can't pay it back. So, you know, what, as United fans, that's why we're screaming Glazers out and all of this. Like, what can we do? Like, they're more interested in the books rather than they are United. Like,
but bro, even what you said, I still don't understand that example. It's like, it's going a bit off topic of sports, but if you're going to buy a house and you take out a mortgage, that mortgage isn't your money, it's the bank's money. And then eventually you're going to have to pay that back. So when they've bought that club, of course we're going to have to take money out so they can pay it back, no?
Yeah, I know, but if you're going to buy a house now, would you go and buy, let's say, a 20 million pound house? You wouldn't do that, would you? If you know it's not sustainable for you and you know that you won't be able to give the bank back their money.
But why isn't it sustainable? If you look at the business side of Man United, it is
because we've been in debt. Bro, we've been in debt for 10 years.
We've been in debt for 10 years, so it's clearly not sustainable for them. Like, they know that was way off there.
You wouldn't be spending money, would you? You wouldn't be spending money in the transfer windows, and your club would be bankrupt. So it is sustainable.
The money they're spending is based off our revenue. It's money that the club makes.
It's shirt sales, this, that, and that.
Exactly. So that's what they've invested in. When you say money that the clubs have made, you got to remember, but own the club. So it's money that the Glazers have made. That's their.
Nick, I know for sure the top heavyweights
that's their
the top heavyweights in Europe. Jamal used Bayern earlier as an example. I know 100%, 110% Bayern don't go out of their way and say, we're going to invest in X, Y, and Z, this player, and we're going to borrow from the bank. If they know that's not sustainable, they go nowhere near it. But the Glazers, they go towards things that are just negative and toxic. So we've been in debt for how many years? Was it 10, you said, George? Or
it's more than 10, it's like 15.
Yeah, more than 15, yeah. So but you can't get out of that debt because they keep dipping in the pot what they shouldn't be going into. Like, it's ludicrous, man. It's ludicrous.
My issues.
I don't think it's that simple. Go on, Jamal. Carry on. Sorry.
My issues. My issues with my owners are the fact that they're unambitious, and I think the United boys would agree. When I look at Chelsea and City, as much as I don't like them, but when I look at their owners, you know what I think of Abramovich? I think a bit hard sacking all these managers. Do you know why he's doing it? Because he's ambitious and he wants to win and he don't want to
cares, bro.
He cares. So does Sheikh Mansour. They care. They back Guardiola. They get the best manager in the world. They set him up from top to bottom with the director of football. Everything's perfect because they care so much about being successful and winning. My owners ain't the same as that. My owners are so out of touch with football. They don't give a shit. They raise ticket prices. A few years ago, there was a game. Jurgen Klopp, when he first came, a few months after he came, there was a game against Sunderland at home. 2 days before that game, they announced they're pushing the season ticket prices up by a lot. I think it was like 10, 15%. At the hour mark of that game, the whole stadium was 2-0 up. The whole stadium walked out of the stadium. Everyone was gone. There was about, from a capacity of like 50,000, there's about 20,000 left. The game finished 2-2 to Sam Allardyce's Sunderland at home. From there, the amount of bad errors in judgment that they've made, they're just out of touch with everything to do, the beliefs in the club. At the start of lockdown, when the furlough first got announced and things like that, what they'd put they make Spurs. I think Spurs did a similar thing. They fucked that up as well. They put all the staff. They put all the staff on furlough and shit. When they've got all this money to be continuing to pay them, they furlough everyone. They don't get it. They don't get the beliefs of the club, the ambitions of the club. They don't get anything to do with football. They don't understand it, which is what's frustrating. For me, I'm seeing the most successful manager that my club. I look at Klopp. I think when he goes, who's out there? So if they fuck this up, they fuck it up for another 10 years. They screw this up. It's finished for a long time. They're fucking him over with what they're doing. The refusal to back him and their lack of ambition is only hurting us in the long term as well as the present.
Okay. There's quite a lot that me personally, I agree with you before I send it over to George and Kay. They don't care as much as the City and Chelsea owners. 100% I agree with that. They cared so much about their teams, and you can see how much money they invest in the fact that Abramovich obviously is a massive oil billionaire or whatever, but a lot of the times he just turns up to Chelsea. All the time when you see Chelsea, he's always there. So that's different between that and United. So again, as I was saying before, whereas your owners, they've got the Boston Red Sox in America, and I think they are from Massachusetts, so they are probably locals. So they probably care more about the Red Sox than they do about Liverpool. Same probably with the United owners. Whereas Chelsea and the City owners, they can spend all their resources, all their time and energy into these football clubs. So I agree with you on that standpoint. But also, what I disagree with about the lack of investment again is that I just don't think they've got the money, bro. They just haven't got the capital to spend. Especially
sell the club then. Why are you still here if you ain't got the money to go?
It's turning over good.
Go if you ain't got the money to do it. Fuck off. Someone out there has got the money to back us. Liverpool and Manchester United, whether you like us, like the fan base, the players, I don't care, are the two, by a long distance, the two biggest clubs this country has ever had and will ever have. We're so far clear of everyone else. It's unbelievable. Why are our owners one of the worst, two of the worst in the league? Doesn't make sense. It makes absolutely no sense. I don't know.
You can't. Can you separate history and the status of the club, which I agree with? Nobody can dispute that. Used to a number 1 and 2. You need to separate that and how rich your owners are and your expectations going forward, especially in the transfer market. You need to separate them two things because they're two completely.
You can't separate them though, because as an owner taking over a club, you should know what the expectations are when you're buying the club. You should know that these are the two biggest clubs in England. I'm going to have to spend money to keep them where they should be.
But I don't understand. Bro, you go down and don't spend money. You both spend money. You just don't spend money to the extent of Chelsea and City. That's what the problem.
It's not enough spending money in one window. It's not enough spending money on Pogba and money on Lukaku. It's not enough. It's not enough. Chelsea don't do it in one window.
Exactly. That's
Chelsea signed Morata and them man the same window. They signed all bare different players.
And he's an example. And his example would be I don't really watch the league myself, but Celtic and Rangers, it's only them two in the league, yeah, let's be honest. And they compete every transfer window. Like they'll buy 1 or 2 players and that's it. But they're always spending to maintain that reputation because those two clubs are 1 and 2 in Scotland, like United and Liverpool. So if those clubs can do it, obviously that league's not as rich as the Premier League, but if those clubs can do it, why can't United and Liverpool? Like in Scotland, they may only buy 1 or 2 players, whereas in England, Liverpool may buy 4, United may buy 4. But when your club's got such a big reputation, there's a standard that needs to be met, isn't there? Like you just have to maintain that. And obviously, in recent years, as Jamal said, Liverpool haven't been doing it. United haven't been doing it. It's just. It stems down to the owners at the end of the day.
It doesn't get it.
I do get it.
It stems down to the owners.
It's because I'm on the outside looking in, whereas you three, you all follow obviously these two clubs that are in discussion. I don't think you guys get it because you guys see yourself as. Listen, you don't get it. You don't get it. You guys see yourself as bigger than Man City and Chelsea, which you are in status, but not in finance. And to use that analogy of Celtic and Rangers, again, I think that's a bad one because they can go to the rest of the SPL or even a lot of their transfers, Eastern European teams or whatever, they go and bully them teams or the bully teams within their own league. If you go back to the mid-2000s, early 2010s, for example, United always used to come to Spurs and just bully us, take Marco Carrick whenever they wanted. Even Arsenal can do that. These days, you can't do that. Nobody can do that in the Premier League. Everybody's got a bit of money. Apart from Man City, Man City came and bullied us a couple of years ago for Kyle Walker. We couldn't do nothing because they're so superior in terms of finances. We can't compete. But everybody else, everybody in the league, you never got you guys. But you got that.
You never got bullied for Kyle. You never got bullied for Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker wanted to win trophies, so he just said, "Yeah, I'm off, lads."
But we didn't have to. We didn't have to accept that offer. He had 3 years left on his contract, but they offered 50 million, which is way more than what we valued him. I remember we said we'll take 40 million, but they just obviously the Man City, so we give you 50. So we're like, okay, cool, that's fine. We got Kieran Trippier, so they accept it. A lot of people didn't want him to go. Even Pochettino said in his book about Spurs with Guillaume Balaguer that him and Leave had to talk about, and the thought 50 million was a lot for a player of his quality. And I agreed with it at the time too. But anyway, my point is that you guys in status only, and in status only pretty much, you're bigger than Chelsea and City. In terms of finance, in terms of quality of players, Liverpool aside, when you're fit, you're probably as good as them. But especially United, in terms of man-for-man players, you can't compete with Chelsea and City because there is.
Do you not think that's a owner thing, a lack of ambition that they can't compete with Man City? So financially, they're there. Financially, there's no excuse for them to still have the likes of Phil Jones in their squad. That's an ambition thing. That's not a finance thing. There's just no ambition.
I don't understand. How can
they have got money. They do have money. They have money. They have money to consistently spend and improve. They have money to consistently spend and improve the squad, which they don't do. That's not on anyone but them. They wait to deadline there to sign Cavani on a free. That's ambitious. There's no ambition there. There's absolutely no ambition from anyone. We did the same a year before when we signed Adrian with a week to go before the start of the season. Instead of going and signing actual players, actual targets of theirs, Sancho's the prime example. We wait all summer to sign Sancho. They started making off at the start of the summer. They say, Dortmund say no. You think if Man United went to Dortmund on deadline day, even before deadline day, with £110 million and said, we want Jadon Sancho, you think, regardless of Dortmund's deadline, you think they're saying no? It's just a lack of ambition. And the funny thing is, a year later, in the summer, they'll go and pour 120 million on his head because they feel pressure.
Nick, let me just make a point quickly.
Make it wait. Let's take a bit of a break and then we'll revisit this in 2 minutes. Yeah?
Right, okay.
Cool, because
it's about to get heated, man.
So yeah, and we're back. Just before we had that little break, George was about to say something. So go on, George, pick it back up, bro.
Obviously, it was about the Sancho issue. So this is what I don't understand about our owners, and it kind of backs up Jamal's point about the lack of ambition from the two clubs, is that Dortmund said at the very start of the summer, give us 110 million and you can have Sancho. We're squabbling, and we eventually offer them 90 million and include some add-ons in case he wins Ballon d'Or or whatever, which is just typical of Ed Woodward. So we don't end up signing Sancho, and in the end we sign Diallo, I can't even, Van der Beek and other player I can't even think off the top of my head. But if you add all the fees together from the players that we signed in the summer, it was 110 million. Why didn't we just go out and get Sancho straight away? It's Ollie's number one target. Why wouldn't we just go and get him? We don't play Van der Beek. We've not played Diallo yet. Cavani's probably the only one who's looked like a good signing. So I just really don't understand the thought process behind the signings we make and the money that we spend in the summer. It makes no sense.
So, seems like I'm a fucking massive owner defender here, but what you're saying there, isn't it a classic case of biting your nose off to spite your face? So if you sign Sancho for 120 million, then you've got no depth in midfield. You haven't got Alex Telles as depth at left back, and you haven't got that Diallo kid who everybody's raving about. So for the price of 4 players, pretty good quality squad depth, you get one player who, if he gets injured, let's say, you're back to route one. Isn't that a argument for why they do that?
The right wing is our least. Not. It's our worst position. We played Dan James there in the Manchester derby yesterday.
But bro,
could you imagine some of the counter-attacking football we could play if it's Sancho on the right wing instead of Dan James? Like even if Sancho did get injured, we'd have Dan James as the backup, not Dan James starting. We've not played Van der Beek all year. Tellers has played about 3 games since he joined, and Diallo's not even started.
Yeah, I understand that, but my point is, I mean, Luke Shaw last year, I saw a lot of United fans wanting to get rid of him. I know Keir, for example, he wanted Tellers to start as soon as he came in.
Yeah, so did I.
Well. So those have been managerial decisions. It's not like they've not set him up to set them players up to succeed. Ole's just watched them in training and he's rewarded the players who have played better. And then, oddly enough, those are players who were already at the club. And also, maybe the club. I know I certainly thought this. You've already got Mason Greenwood. He had a 6 season last season. Maybe they didn't want to hinder his development, and they just wanted to keep playing him games. I don't know.
Greenwood's not a right winger though.
That's who's been playing though now.
He's been playing there obviously to fit him in the team because Martial last year was playing well, and he scored 20 plus goals last season. You couldn't drop Martial last season, whereas this season we've signed Cavani. Hopefully for a bit of competition with Martial. Martial's been shit. Cavani's injured now. So Greenwood ideally should be starting number 9, I think.
But when everybody's fit then, so I don't understand your point, because when everybody's fit, as you've just said, Greenwood is third choice up front. So surely you're going to play him in the right wing, no?
Well, yeah, he's going to have to fit him in, but that's not the point I was originally making. My original point was get Sancho.
No, the original point was you want a luxury big name signing instead of other players.
It's not luxury. The right wing has been we've needed a right winger for years now. It's not been a recent issue. It's been 4 or 5 years where we've needed a top quality right winger.
The place you're going to come back to on this, no matter which opinions you're going to give, it's always going to boil back down to the lack of ambition. If your manager says, this is the player I want, this is the weakest position in the team, and I want this player,
yeah,
Abramovich is doing it. Don't care about what finances he's got to back him. Abramovich is doing it.
Wait.
Even us at a time when we wanted Van Dijk, it was a very clear message. Klopp said, that's who I want. I don't care how you go out, you do it illegally, you tap him up, you sign in the next January, I don't care. That's who I want. Why are you diverting from what you've... There's no ambition. At least I can give ours a slice of praise there. There's no ambition from United managers whatsoever. They're worse than ours. By miles they're worse than ours. They have real... in my eyes, as much as it pains me to say, they are the biggest club in the world. They don't get bigger than them, in my opinion, even Madrid and Barca. Their lack of ambition is criminal. How bad they actually don't care. They don't give a shit about anything to do with Man United. They don't give a fuck. And that's scary, bro. How can the people that run your club not care what happens at your club? It doesn't make sense at all. You've got your manager that's just in his first, whether you rate him or not, in his first full season, he did what was required. He got them back in the Champions League. Go and back him. Go and give him what he needs to kick on again, and you don't want to do it. That's a big problem.
I don't understand you guys' points, bro, because I just don't. I'm trying to, but I don't understand.
You're used to Daniel Levy. That's all it is.
Bro, no, I've had the same complaints about Daniel Levy, but it's just that's a different argument in itself. But you're saying it's the lack of ambition, but you don't give a shit about the money. How can you sign players who are worth 120 million, just one player, without the money? How does that make sense to you? How does that make sense to you guys? I don't understand.
They were willing to pay 90 for him. Why not? Here's an extra. Even if you have to move players, move someone on.
Bro, I said we had the money. All the money we spent on signing.
But I feel like you're talking about these owners like they've been here. Maybe not. I don't know about Arsenal. Talk about these owners like they've been here for 2 weeks. Ours have been here for 10 years. United's have been there longer. You should know the clubs by now. You should know the ambitions and the expectations of these clubs. They're failing the clubs, and that is the bottom line. They're failing both of these clubs more than what.
That's too.
People can get onto Ollie. They are failing these clubs. We got lucky that we ran into Jurgen Klopp, because we saw 5 years of FSG before Klopp, and it was abysmal. It was awful. A lot of that was because of a lack of,
as well.
Exactly, we got so lucky with all these things.
Spent $8 million on him as well.
Very, very lucky that we caught life. Now this summer coming up is going to be key, because there's no big player sales going on. We're not selling a player for 100 million, and we're not going to have Champions League football. So this summer, we'll see how ambitious these owners are. Talk about money all you want. There's money to invest in this squad. I don't care what you want to say. There's enough money to go and spend 100 million on improving this squad, on top of player sales, a couple of 15 millions here and there. But they won't do it because they don't care.
We'll leave it there.
They don't care.
We're gonna have to agree to disagree on that. Just to wrap up the pod, I want to actually talk about what's happened this past week just gone. So we got a Manchester derby where Ole beats Pep yet again at the Etihad Stadium.
Yeah.
A few United fans. Does Ole have Pep's number, or are we just looking too much into it? Was it just a freak game?
He's got more than his number. He's got his address. He's got his wife's number. He's got everything, bro. He's got his shoe size. That's tactically we done well, to be fair. I've got to give it to Oli. Like, against a big six, obviously no one expected us to win, isn't it? And obviously with City's massive run they've been on, I didn't expect much, to be fair, but we pulled it out, man, and it's a good result, to be fair.
Yeah. It was kind of like the blueprint for how we beat them last season as well. I remember Martin Tyler saying on commentary, apart from Lingard and De Gea, it was the same starting 11. It was just Bruno and Henderson replaced them. But I do want to say how Henderson is the future United number one. I'm going to go on record and say it now, because De Gea, as much of a good servant he's been to this club, he is past it now. Like, the way that the game's evolving and the way that teams target our back line is by crosses. And there's no way that De Gea can stay in net for United. Because I've just seen a stat then on Twitter, and it said that Henderson, in all the games he's played this season, has had a higher percentage of like catching crosses than De Gea. So I just don't understand. I think Ollie knows in the back of his mind that starting next year, Henderson will be number one, because he's got that hunger and that ambition to be United's number one. He's come through the academy. And you saw it for the first goal, the second goal, where he throws it out to Shaw. And obviously Shaw makes that run and it leads to the goal. If that's De Gea in net, he is never throwing that ball. He's rolling it out to Maguire. It's a slow build-up, and it just doesn't happen. So I just think that, I just think Henderson needs to start every game. I'm going to say it now.
Okay, cool. So where now for United? When do you guys see yourselves going for the rest of the season? I mean, you won this game, but the gap to Man City has just gone from 14 points to 11. It's still insurmountable, really. You still can't catch them. It might be a case of where you just end up in second and you're by yourselves. You're distant away from third, but you're also far off top of the league. So what's the focus?
Well, I think we should just secure top four, because obviously I know underneath us there's a bit of a race with like 4 teams. If Liverpool can catch some sort of form, they could be in a race as well, which makes it a good 6-7 teams chasing top 4. So I think get at least 15 more points, and that should confirm like Champions League football for us next season. That's what I'd do, and then focus on Europa League. That's just a trophy that I want. But yeah, that's what I'd do.
Before the start of the season, I said if we can get second or third, which would show a bit of progress, and a trophy, then I'd be quite happy. So to be in the position we're in, being obviously in the semis or quarters of the FA Cup, and obviously into the quarters of the Europa League, it's quite good. I'm looking forward to this end of the season.
Okay, cool. Just before we leave that game, quickly, Jamal, How impressive was City's 21 match winning streak? Well, how did you feel about it? Did you even know there was on a 21 beating streak? I didn't.
For half of it, I didn't. Seemed like it started like 2 weeks ago. They're weird, man. They're such a weird. It symbolizes this season. It's been so weird because up until December, up until the Chelsea game, it was shit. They lost at Spurs, and I remember I watched that game and I thought, all these, they look useless. Ruben Diaz was playing, Laporte was playing. That was meant to be the solid partnership. I was thought they look really shit, and then they quietly started picking up wins, and then the turn of the year came, and it was just like they were playing every 2 or 3 days with a new 11, and they were winning games. Not winning games like how they were 17-18 in the Centurion season. Not winning games like that. Winning games 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. They're not. Winning 21 games on the bounce is unbelievable, and that's impressive no matter who you're playing. But I just feel like the manner in which they're playing and winning games, it wasn't overly impressive. Even when they beat us, they were a better team, but they never. I don't know. I didn't feel like intimidated by them how I would have felt 2 years ago, 3 years ago. They're just. I'll say I don't think they're that good. This current City team, I don't think they're brilliant. I really don't. I saw a stat yesterday. After the same amount of games last year, we had 80 points. I think they're on 65 or something like that. They're nothing special. I think we beat them last year. I think City's team from the year before beat them. I think the Centurions beat them. I don't think they're that good. I just think they caught life. They hit form at the right period. We went shit. Spurs went shit. A couple of teams just fell off the boil and they hit top gear at the right time, and they kind of fell into what they were fell into, and now they're gonna win the league. But
I agree.
I don't know, it's just a weird run, isn't it?
I agree. 100%. Every time I've watched them, I've never sat back like I did a couple of years ago and thought, "Whoa, put these in for the Champions League final. They're going to dominate the English game forever long." It's just one of them things. They're just taking advantage whilst everybody else is fucked around and tripped over themselves. And that's where I've seen it, to be honest. And that's where they're going to win the Premier League this season. But yeah, so lastly, on this game, I'm just going to ask everyone, is Manchester red?
Yeah, come on,
man. 100%.
How about you, Joe?
Impossible.
Yeah.
Impossible because they won one game.
Yeah, I agree.
It don't matter.
Impossible.
It don't matter.
Listen, since Fergie...
Jamal, what were you saying this whole first half of the pod?
Wait. Since Fergie bounced to the retirement home, yeah, Manchester's been blue. They've won about 4 or 5 league titles.
Yeah.
Won about 10 domestic cups, while United have won, an FA Cup and a League Cup and a Europa League. Manchester's, for the time, historically, Manchester's red. For the time being, for the last 5, 6 years, 7 years, Manchester's been painted blue, dark blue, royal blue, turquoise blue, whatever blue you want is blue.
I agree. Exactly. I couldn't put it better myself. But yeah, okay, cool, boys.
Well, that must mean London red then. That must mean Arsenal.
Arsenal. London's blue. I think it's Chelsea.
Chelsea's blue, bro. Yeah, London's blue.
100%.
Is that you agreeing, Nick?
Is
that you agreeing, Nick?
I think Chelsea's blue. Yeah, I think London's blue. Yeah, Chelsea are the most successful team in London.
You think London's blue?
Yeah, 100%. Bro, they've won the
Premier League's blue
every year.
No idea.
They won FA Cup. In my lifetime, so when I've watched Spurs and stuff, it's been Chelsea, really. Chelsea being the top team in London. Yeah. But yeah. So quickly before we wrap up, our last topic to close the segment, really. I just want to touch upon Spurs because they had a realistic result yesterday, and I'm sure
it's time to wrap it up.
Yeah, just a quick question, but I never want to delve too deep into it. For you guys, what does success look like for Spurs this season?
Beating City in the Carabao Cup.
That's it. So you Carabao Cup, and then that's it, really. Yeah.
That's about it. You got nothing else on the table.
You know, I still know some Spurs fans. They're still singing about beating us 6-1, bro. Like, I know, it's a big, heavy defeat and that.
Yeah, never.
But you know, some fans are still singing about that. And I'm like, look at the league table now, do you know what I mean? But for you guys, I think go as far as you can in Europa League. If City aren't on the boil on the day you play them, take the cup off them if you can. And just see where you finish in the league.
Cool.
Europa League. That dictates success for me.
Again,
I think you have to win it.
Yeah, again, I agree with you, man. I couldn't care less. I probably think City are going to pummel us in the Carabao Cup final, but they probably will beat us. The Premier League were too consistent to make a run for top four. I mean, what was it, 2 points off? But again, Chelsea played tonight. 2 points off, having played the same amount of games as Chelsea. But we are too inconsistent for the league. So for me, it all comes down to Europa League. So we shall see. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for you guys for coming through as always. It's been a long one discussing economics for fucking most of it. But yeah, thanks for you guys for coming through. And yeah, peace, boys.